This is Andy Tube. In this video I'm going to be working on the Spotlight for a Singer Model 99K. And this particular model of the 99K, the version of it, does have what Singer called a Spotlight. Other versions of the 99K had a different light fixture. But this is what's here, so that's what I'm going to work on. And the light lead or wire from the Spotlight comes down and goes inside a housing on the motor, as do all the electrical wires. The wire from the outlet, the wire from the foot controller, all go inside here to be terminated. And it's what I would call hard wired versus a plug. So the Spotlight then itself, there's a bracket up here that has a screw into the frame or the body of the machine, and then an L comes out from it, and it has one screw through that to hold the Spotlight. So the Spotlight really isn't adjustable very much at all. It is what it is, and it has its own switch key up here to turn it on and off, because this particular model, when you plug it into the electrical outlet, it's ready to go. There's no on-off switch for the motor, but there is a separate on-off switch for the Spotlight. So to make this easier for myself to work on, I'm going to remove the motor off of the machine, and then I'm going to remove the Spotlight off of the machine. And the motor housing has a built-in bracket here. That's just part of the front half of the motor housing, and it goes right over, and it has one good sized screw that holds it to the body of the machine, and it's made to move up and down to adjust the tension on the motor belt. But I'm just going to back out that screw completely, and then the motor can come right off of the machine. And it does have a washer. It should have a washer with it too. And to get better access to these screws, I lay the machine on its back. So let me do that, and then I'm going to slide it up here and redo my camera a little bit on the tripod, so hopefully I can show you that. Where that screw is up here. I can just lift off this motor out of the way now, and you can see more of the bracket now, I hope. And the screw that holds the bracket to the body of the machine is up here, kind of tucked underneath the Spotlight, and the screw that holds the Spotlight to the bracket is more accessible. So I'm going to remove that to give me easier access. Now I guess if you just wanted to work on there's a little screw for that. If you just wanted to work on the light, you don't have to take the bracket off, but I'm going to take the bracket off just to show you what it looks like and how it mounts on here. When I first got it, I thought it would be more adjustable, where you could focus the light. And I loosened that screw a little bit and tried to move it around, but let me take it off and I'll show you. There's a bump out on the back of the bracket. There's the mounting screw. There was no washer on mine. And here is the bracket itself. And you can see on the back this kind of cone-shaped bump out that comes out. And then there's actually a hole here on the machine that bump out goes into. So when you tighten the bracket on there, it prevents any movement of the bracket and therefore the spotlight. And I haven't checked it out to see what else, if anything, is in here, or you know, if adjustments or lubrication or something is supposed to be made through there. I haven't really checked it out yet. Let me get that back and make a little room here and put down something so my parts don't slide around as much. So you know, when I mentioned all the wires go in here to terminate, here you see them all. The light lead wire, and I don't know which is which. One of these is from the electrical outlet and the other is from the foot controller, and I'll find out more about this when I open up the motor. But this video is just about the light. The first thing I found out was something didn't look right here. There was this kind of a funny washer that at first I thought it was just damaged, but it seems to be formed like that in a particular up and down pattern. And it turns out there's supposed to be a lens in here, a glass lens, a clear glass lens that is supposed to focus the light from the bulb right onto the work area on the machine. And the one I bought here, the lens is missing. And I think this is a retention ring for that lens. And I see some little cutout shapes along here, so I'm guessing, and it is just a guess, that ring goes in and the lens pushes against it and turns under the cutouts to hold it in place. But I do not know that for a fact. So the body is in two parts, and this bulb is kind of a screw-in bulb, and I can't get it out. But I know from looking at the parts list that it's a screw-in bulb. So that's why I decided, well, I've got to see what's going on with that. And there's two parts. This is like the upper half, and then the lower half is where the bracket. And they just kind of meet up together, but there's a steel, I guess I'd kind of call it a spring clip or a snap ring here that has a little tiny space, and that's to hold the front two halves together. And then back here where the wire lead goes in, there's supposed to be a snap ring also. But what I'm seeing here is a plastic tie strap somebody put on there. So I guess somebody worked on this before. Maybe that's why the lens is. So this one I can just cut off with some snips, but this front snap ring is on pretty tight, And it's not like a modern snap ring with the little holes and the little special pliers you can use. So what I did was take my trusty Swiss Army knife and get in with the can opener. I tried screwdrivers and other little pry tools, but this was able to get into the space. I can take a closer look at it here and push under one edge of that ring and push it up onto the edge. And now I can pry it off of there. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Let me pull it open a little bit here and you can see the spacing. So to put it back on, it's a lot easier than taking it off, because you can get one edge started and you can pry the ring apart and slip it over, and then it snaps on. Now let's see about getting this. Oh, there. Yeah, so this was just a plastic tie strap holding it on, and the parts diagram shows a little snap ring, something like this one, but a lot smaller. And then I'm going to open it up here, and I see that the wire lead, one of them, is soldered right to the socket for the light bulb, but the socket itself just sets in here. Now here's a little spring contact that came loose, so we'll see where that goes. Don't want to lose that. And this is the bottom part that attaches to the mounting bracket. It's the simplest part. It's got kind of a depressed area for the wire to lay in here, and an area for the cam and contacts for the switch to be, and then it's got I don't think this is metal. It just looks like a silver paint in here as a reflector. I thought at first maybe it was a little piece of aluminum or something pressed in here, but it doesn't sound like metal, and I can definitely see the paint overspray. And it's I don't think it's Bakelite. I think it's just plastic, but I think of it as a more modern plastic than Bakelite. So let's see if I can just take the bulb out of the socket now, because it's hard to get in. When it's in here, it's hard to get in and get a grip on it. Maybe if I used a little piece of vinyl or rubber or duct tape or something on it to get a grip, but I can see already it's loose once I have it out here. So you see how simple the socket is. It just has one of the wire leads just soldered right to it, and it's just like a little tube, just enough to hold the screw-in bulb. This says 120 volts, and it looks like 10 watts maybe. But I was encouraged to find that screw-in LED bulbs are available. I have to just be sure of the base size, because the ones I see for sale, some are 5/16 and some are 7/16 and some are 11/16. So I just got to figure that out. Then I'll probably order a LED bulb for it, since I don't have the lens anyway. But let's take a look at this now. The switch key right there, and watch while I turn that. You can see the little cam go, and here's another spring contact, I would call that, as part of the switch, like a switch spring contact. And there's one down here that stayed in real tight, and it is soldered to the black lead of the wire. And then this other piece that kind of slipped out would have to go in here someplace. We'll figure it out. But that is what allows to make contact when the bulb is screwed into the socket. The tip of the bulb end is going to make contact with that little spring right there. So when you turn the key and you close the circuit, that's how the bulb's going to work. And watch, when I turn it, you can see this cam rotating. Like on, the spring comes down, off. Actually, this is on, where the spring contacts the metal contact in the center of the cam. And then off, the spring contacts a piece of non-conductive material. So it's pretty basic, like you see in a lot of switches, light switches. No, not much different there. And according to the parts, there is another spring clip someplace, someplace here, that holds the key on. Oh, that came out too now that I've been fooling around with it so much. Okay, so I guess that gives you a better idea of how the wires are soldered. The white to the socket, and the black, the contact spring clip that goes in there. Okay, kind of like that, I think. I'll have to play around with that. Let's see how the other one goes in here, because I know that the smaller bent end of the spring is what contacts the light bulb, and this longer curved piece here is what contacts the cam in the switch. So let's see if I can put that in. Oops, I got to turn that over like that. So the short piece comes down to contact the socket down here, and that longer curved piece is going to contact the cam mechanism, and then it fits just in a little slot that keeps it in place. Now let's see if I can get the top part up here back. I didn't mean to let that come out. So, if I remember right, the wire pointed up to the end. Yeah, so this curved spring on this one is what goes into the cam part, and so it has to point down and go down into that cam somehow. Was it like this maybe? No, because the little notch is right there. So it has to go in. Let me get this bulb off of there. That's too heavy and it's flopping around. Maybe I can make sense of this now. So the curved part has to go down, and the middle bend of the spring is going to go into this notch right there, I believe. and that's what's going to hold that in place. And then the solder point is up here, tucked into the corner. I'm pretty sure that's how it was. So, see if I can put that long side in first and compress that spring clip a little. Doesn't want to go down in there. When I worked on lamps in the past, I've had to take like needle nose and kind of squeeze that spring clip sometimes to get it back in its little spot. Oh, I almost had it. I'll try and put the curved end first down by the cam. Put the middle bend. We'll see, I either get one end or the other. So I've got the wire and the middle part in the notch. I had it. Fiddly doodle part here. I think if I put it on the bench, it might be a little easier. The middle part and the wire. Okay. So the long part by the cam is what is not in the slot now. So let's see if I can compress it a little bit. I don't want to bend it out of shape, but if I can compress it a little bit and get that end tucked down so the spring is next to the cam. Ooh, I almost did it the first try. That's real unusual for me. Yeah, now this is more like it, where everything is out of whack and I can't get it to go where I want. Oh, somehow everything lined up. I got it level and it all went together. How about that? So let's gently turn the key on, off. Okay, so you would think, the way this looks, that the wire's just going to come down that left side. So let's put the bulb back in, and we'll lay that socket in there so that contact spring can touch the base of the light bulb. Maybe I should rotate this bulb so the wires, I think the wire has to come down the side like that, and maybe it does come down this side now that I think about it, because the insulation for the lead has to lay flat in here to get pinched by the ridges on the bottom piece, and that's like a strain relief to hold the cord in there. So let's see if I can turn that a little. So there, that's nice and flat. Both of my spring contacts are nice and flat. It's touching the bottom of the bulb. So let's see if I can line this up. And get it compressed. Yeah, these don't feel as smooth as they did before, so I don't think I have it quite. I don't think I have the two halves lined up as nice as it was. Oh well, when I squeeze them they feel smoother now. Looks like it's going together pretty good. Okay, now if I can get my third hand, let's see with my ring. I think I put the big ring on first because it's easier. So here's my opening in the snap ring. So I'm gonna put it like that and get the side of the ring into the groove, maybe. Or maybe I should go near that opening and come around the back side. See, if you were here to help me, you could hold this close while I use two hands on the snap ring. Oh, come on, come on. Oh, I can stretch that snap ring enough. Almost. To get it into the groove there. So why would you ever open this, right? If your bulb was stuck and you couldn't get it out, or those contact springs can get worn out and not make contact anymore. So when you're turning the key, when you're turning the switch, you know, it just spins around. It doesn't click anymore, and it doesn't really have an on-off capability. So you might have to replace those parts. Oh, there. I got it snapped on. How about that? Can you see the little gap it leaves? And that's the gap that I put my can opener part in like that and was able to pry this end up and over the front to get that snap ring off. It's actually pretty tight now, but you may be able to see, I can see the white wire inside, so this end is not quite compressed together. But I think I got a solution for that. Hang on and I'll find it. Okay, so the solution is, you know, to get rid of this plastic tie strap is to get a new snap ring. So I went to the hardware store, and for $1.59 I bought a modern snap ring. And the modern ones have these little tabs with holes, and this is called the outside tab, and they make some with the tabs inside the circle for other applications. And they make a special snap ring plier that you can put in the holes, and when you squeeze the plier it opens it so you can put it over whatever you're connecting. And when you close the plier, it lets the ring come back together to hold it. So it was a perfect opportunity for me to add to my tools, and you know I'm up for that. So I was at the Ace Hardware store, and this was the only snap ring plier they had, and it's actually a set of 4 different plier heads that go on to the plier, and it's made for different snap ring sizes and applications. So I figured out the one that's would fit this little tiny snap ring, and I really wanted to use one of the ones that was more curved down at the end, but the little pins on the others were too big. They were too big for this, because this is a pretty small snap ring. But the idea is that you put the pins in the snap ring, and then when you squeeze the plier, instead of the jaws coming together, they spread. And then so you can spread it. That's the idea. You spread it enough to get it on here, and then you release the pliers, and then it snaps on to this recessed area. So I kind of estimated the size of the snap ring based on what they had, and this is the closest that I could find. So I'm going to see if I can get this. I've actually never used snap rings before, or a snap ring plier. So besides my first black Singer restoration, this is my first snap ring plier attempt, and I think it's going to show how clumsy I am with tools. Let's see if I can get that started on there. These pins were just barely small enough there to go into the snap ring. So I've got to, how am I going to do this? Maybe I'll come from the top. I've got to slip it over the cord and then onto there, like that. Is that showing up? And then release the pliers. Of course, they won't close now because they're around the cord. So I'm just going to try and yank them out. There. Okay, and now the snap ring kind of snapped together, and it's a pretty good fit. It's nice and tight. Well, actually, it's very tight on there, and it's holding the back halves here together real good and crimping the insulation of the wire lead. So I'm going to call that a big success. So there's my first snap ring application. I like it. So I can hardly wait until I have to do another snap ring. Now, while I was there, I thought I would just buy a big snap ring for the other end of the Spotlight, because these seem, you know, the idea of how putting these on with a plier was a lot better than using a can opener to get it on and off. But they didn't have a snap ring this big. So fortunately, this big original snap ring was here, and I was able to reuse it. And the small snap ring that was lost, I just replaced with a new style of snap ring. And I asked if they came in like a black color, and they said, no, it's just the silver metal. They'd never seen any in black, but it doesn't look bad, I don't think. Okay, so let me clear this up here. I'm going to lay the machine back down, and I'm going to refasten, put the bracket back on, and put the lamp back on the machine, just so that we got a little practice of doing that. Get a towel down here to protect cute, and bring it around to the side here. See if I'm already up. See if I got, there's a little more light. Okay, so there's the screw hole, and there's what I've been calling just the bump hole that bump goes into. So, oops, got it backwards. It's going to go like that. And I got my screw for the, I think this is the one for the bracket. Here we go. Oop, spoke too soon again. I thought coarse threads were supposed to be easier to start. No? Maybe if I put a screwdriver blade on it here, it'll go in easier. Let's see, maybe if I lift it up like that, I'll just get the screw started. Actually, that worked. See, sometimes I know what I'm doing here. Okay, we'll snug that up firmly so the bracket is attached well and won't be vibrating loose later. And let's see if I can find the other little screw that actually holds the spotlight onto the L part of the bracket. There's a little depressed area here that bracket sits in. Just like that. And I don't see any way to adjust the positioning of this at all. So, and I don't know when that lens is in there, if you know, it's called the focusing lens in the, or light lens in the parts list. I don't know if it can be twisted inside the plastic housing here and focus in some way, but I think it's just like a thick lens that kind of magnifies the light a little bit. See, so it's pretty much where it is. You know, I'm not going to put the motor back on because I'm just going to take the light off after this video. Okay, let me just plug the lead cord in here and get some power, and we'll see if the light actually lights. Oh, it's in the on position. Okay. Yeah. So there it is, shining down on the work area here. Let me turn it off. Let me turn it back on. Yeah. Okay. So that is the spotlight of one of the versions, at least, of the Singer Model 99K sewing machine. And like I said, I do want to measure that socket and check, because I think I'd like to put a wonder if that'll come out of there now. It's just hard to get a grip on it. Yeah, put a little piece of duct tape and turn it. But I think I would put a LED light in here because it's such a nice bright white light, and especially since you can turn it on and off. So there's 64 element and 100 element, 104 element. I think, I don't know, I don't want one that sticks out past the front of this. So I think it's probably going to be one of the shorter bulbs if I can find it. But thanks for watching this video about the Spotlight. And your comments and questions are always welcome. You can subscribe if you like. I think you get notified when I put up new videos. But I appreciate you tuning in, and I hope you'll come back to AndyTube in the future when you have time. Take care.